Sanibona, ngaphambi singene kwivideo namuhla, ngithi angithathe lethuba ngibonge isupport nothando enikhombise lona lingaphezu kokucabanga kwethu. Siyacela niqhubeke nisisupport njalo ngokubuka amavideo ethu, ungakhohlwa ukukhomenta, ushare, ulike. Siyafisa ukuzwa umbono wakho. Sicela ke singene kwivideo namuhla.
We are sitting here with a situation where South African citizens are not getting employed and foreign nationals are being preferred over them.
Ayikho into ebuhlungu njengaleni ukuthi umzali awevuka nengane yakhe. Esibukile isimo sakubo, ingane nayo futhi izitshela ukuthi isimo sakubo soguquka ngayo. Ifunda amabanga aphansi ye-secondary, iphume lapho iye tertiary university, ibuye igraduate bese iphinde ihlale nalawo ama-qualifications wayo ekhaya. Omunye aze athathe noma yimuphi umsebenzi okhona, uthole esebenza kuma-retail, angasebenzi according to i-qualification yakhe. Yonke leyo nto leyo ibuhlungu kabi ngoba kuqhuqhumezela abantu ukuthi baye ey'koleni, uma sebebuya babuye bahlale. Mina angikaze ngakucabanga ukuthi kuzofika isikhathi la kuthiwa khona odokotela abakwazi ukuqashwa, nonesi abakwazi ukuqashwa. Hhayi ngoba bengadingeki, ingoba i-government ithi ayinamali, kodwa i-government is willing to spend 700 million kwi-national dialogue. 700 million kwi-national dialogue. Le nto kimi ayiyenzi sense. Yazi ngiyacabanga ukuthi iZondo Commission of Inquiry ispende over 1 billion. Kodwa ithini imiphumela yakhona? Futhi ngifisa ukucaphuna umama lo bathi uNomvula Nonkonyane. Ngaphambi singene kulo daba ka Ashley Souls, sikhulume ngodaba luka Nomvula Nonkonyane. Kuneqiniso alivezile la ngeZondo Commission of Inquiry. Into enza ukuthi ngicaphune yena ukuthi u-Deputy Secretary General we-ANC ezisikhuluma.
Do you want to talk about the Zondo Commission?
You can ask me.
Okay. What? I mean, in fact, Mamkes, by the way, did you take it for review, the report as it relates to you?
Yes, my lawyers had done that.
Okay. And how far is that process?
Don't know.
Yes.
You know, the thing that is unfortunate about the Zondo Commission is that conclusions and determinations were predetermined. Yeah.
It worked on predetermined
conclusions.
Yeah.
And until now, we're still waiting for some of the records from them.
Well, you are not the only one. Many people are complaining about the same. I just wanted to know, because now, since it has passed, but it left this dark cloud over a lot of people, and others have argued before Mamkes, maybe rightly so, that probably this whole process itself was a political process more than a fact-finding process that it was supposed to be as a commission of inquiry. Because it made these recommendations. For instance, they recommend people must be investigated.
They conclude that you must be prosecuted.
Yes. And then years later, there's nothing happening to you. And then you begin to wonder if such things won't be.
You know what is unfortunate? I was not part of the determination of it.
Yeah.
I was a victim of it.
Yes.
Yeah. And hence I'm saying there's so much wrong that happened. If it was meant to be, it failed to be.
But are you not worried that those things that the commission said about you may come back to haunt you?
Let them. The better that they come. In fact, they mustn't haunt me. You know, Mina, nothing haunts me. I've told you about.
Well, you've experienced the worst pain.
Yeah. I've sat in days and months, and people will be saying Nomvula is being arrested. There were headlines at some point that I'm being arrested.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. What more?
Yeah.
Honestly, what more? The only thing that annoys me and irks me a lot is that there's so much political character in all these things.
Yes.
And nothing about fairness. I look at other people who are now 4 or 5 years on step aside.
Based on Zondo Commission.
And many other things.
And other things, yeah.
Yeah. I made my choice, which was my right, not to go back to Parliament, precisely because of it. And I just felt, I'm not going to be a burden of the ANC. I was not going to be a minister, by the way.
Yes.
But I was ready to go and be in Parliament. But I felt ngiyohlala laphana and be insulted on those things. The struggle continues. There are many sides. That's the thing.
Yabona mawuzwa kuthiwa ispende over 1 billion ukuthi kufunakale zonke lezi lama allegations wakhona akekho boshiwe ayikho into eyenzakele into enhle nje enziwe izondo commission ukuthi thina abantu sithukane ngayo unokubona mawuposte ivideo njengami nje attach ama video la ezubufakazi nento ezikhulunywayo uze umuntu athi angeke ungitshele lutho ngoBrian Molefe wayibaliwe kuzondo commission of inquiry then umbonthi mara then why ke angaprosecutwanga why angaboshwanga ngoba into eyenzile uzuthi umama lo Nomvula Nonkonyane izondo leyanto le it was politically instead of ukuthi ibe fairness ilethe ilo iqinise ebantwini ngoba phela bekuyi fact finding mission no but igcine yona seseyisebenza politically ukulwa nabantu abathize bukuthi government yethu spenda kuphi imali le 1 billion yasetshenziswa kuzondo commission of inquiry akukho la ngabe investwe khona eSouth Africa sinama industries angasasebenzi ama-firm angasasebenzi ngifisa ukucaphunela ivideo ekhuluma nge-BEE ishiwo vuSithembe kwayo ushezi izinto ezibalekile ngizomcaphuna la bese siyadlula siya kule video kaAshley Souls ekhuluma nje nge-BEE ngicela uzwe la.
I think you need to understand. So remember, BEE is a very complex machinery. It's a very complex mechanism. It has elements of enterprise development, sharp, supply development, absolutely necessary, affirmative action and the development of employment equity, black talent in organizations, move them higher up the rung, expose them to operational levels so they know how to run businesses, absolutely necessary. What I am not in agreement with is taking wholesale shares and just giving it to people because they're politically connected.
Yeah.
We've done that for 20-something years. It hasn't worked for us.
It's not working.
My mother worked in a company. I'll tell you a funny story. She worked in a company that did a BE transaction for 4 billion. My mother was in that company for 30 years. She didn't get a cent of the 4 billion. So what you've now done is you've got black people who've worked in the business, who've built the business, who don't get any access to the future growth of that business just because they don't carry the right card of a political organization. And then when the company goes through a difficult time, it turns around and says to the black staff, no, wait, we're not making profits. Please don't ask us for higher wages. And the staff go, but why? We're not participating in the profit growth of this business, so why must I let you make profits in future when you're not letting me be a part of the dream? So there's a big conversation to be had on both sides around how we build real entrepreneurship. South Africa, in my view, is at a crux now. We're at a turning point. We're either going to do one of two things. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, say the populist things that sound good and earn people votes. In 20 years' time, yours and my children will meet in the workplace and we would not have changed this country at all. Or we're going to start doing the real things and letting entrepreneurs, real entrepreneurs, get access to finance and access to real opportunities so we can actually build this country. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
So we're talking today about developing black industrialists. How many black people own factories that employ more than 100 people?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about bought a factory from a white man that employs 100 people. I'm talking about started it from the ground. When I started my business 15 years ago, everybody thought I was crazy. Now I've just sold it to an American investor group and I've got my own money. And as a result, I'm saying, let me invest in other entrepreneurs. So I'm not saying this for theory. I've done it.
You've done it, you know how it
and
works.
I didn't ask for pity. I didn't say to people, give me the business because I was black, or give me no, I said, give me the business because I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah.
You come against vuSithembe, well, you better have your wits about you because I'm going to take you out in any space.
Yeah.
And a kind of belief, I think, is necessary. We had this belief in the 80s when black people ran spaza shops, right? We had it in our own townships economies.
But you've lost it somewhere along the line.
Yeah, because we just sold this thing about pity now. And all of a sudden, we're all looking for pity. I don't want pity. Don't give me business for pity. Give it to me because I'm the best at what I do. I promise you, you come against me, you will not win.
That's amazing.
And if you come against me and win, then I'm willing to concede. You know what? You were better at this. Let me try something else.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do to really build this country.
That's...
This is the worst thing we did, is we then said, well, here's BEE transactions. So you can take 26% of a company you played no role in building, and tomorrow you can buy a Range Rover, just like that. So the minute you distort the reward risk system, which is what entrepreneurship is, I take a risk, in future I'm going to get a reward. The minute you distort it, people then don't flock to this thing called entrepreneurship.
Uvusa ushiphoze libalekile la. Mawulalela nje BEE inkinga yakhona enkulu la iANC namapholisa amahle mawafunda. And then into esingeke size siyibalekele ukuthi akusi government kuphela ezokwehlisa unemployment rate. nabantu funeka baxhaswe laba abaqala amabhizinisi ama-entrepreneurs bakwazi ukuthi uma bexhaswa labo bantu labo yibona abazokhanda imisebenzi baqashe abantu abawu-5 kuqasheka abanye abantu kuqasheka abanye abantu i-private sector iyangena nawo lapho kube i-public sector nohulumeni-ke. Uma kunjalo izokwenza ukuthi le nto le i-unemployment rate iyehle la eSouth Africa. Njengoba umuzwa nje ukuthi into eyenziwa i-BEE vele nje kusuka umuntu athole leyo 30% no 26% ama-shares avele instant nje sekayimillionaire. Instant akakwazi ukukhanda business kanti kube kuthathwa le mali lo 30% u-investwe back to abantu abakhanda amabhizinisi noma kuma-entrepreneurs akwazi ukuthi lawo bantu labo bakhanda amabhizinisi kunamasitha avele aba-useless kokugcina o-NYDA. Ngesikhathi kunama-interviews usihlelo onziwa kwathi kwenye insizwa ngicela ungiphe nje amakhampani awu-3 kule minyaka obukhona lapha ku-NYDA eniwafandile eniwa-assistile athola i-funding ayasebenza awu-3 wazi wathi ngicela ungiphe yodwa akuzange vele neyodwa. Kuhlungu kabi indaba yethu asiye ku-Ashley Souls ngoba ngingacaphuna amavidiyo amaningi masikhuluma ngendaba le-unemployment. Before Ashley Souls ngizocaphuna ivideo yokugcina kodwa ngingacaphuna amavideo amaningi makuza kule ndaba. Ngicela ukucaphuna ivideo yokugcina bese siya ku-Ashley Souls.
Government is not a meritocratic institution. If it was, the Department of Home Affairs would have awards every year for the best performing clerk. They don't have them because they don't measure the performance of clerks at Home Affairs. The structure of government is not built for meritocracy. It's not built for remuneration based on performance. So the reason you don't take institutions that need to perform and give them to the government is because you're going to flog them with a management system that doesn't require of them to perform. This is why the minute you give anything to the state, they mismanage it. It's not because they wake up this morning going, how can I mismanage this thing? It's because there is no incentive built into the system to perform. Now, in the private markets, there is an incentive. It's called survival. You don't perform, you die. That's the way it works, right? And there is a limitation to how much capital you can raise and constantly underperform. Sooner or later, they're going to change the executive or the board, or the shareholders are going to shut you down. So there is a real existential threat to non-performance. So the reason you don't nationalize institutions that need to perform is because the way our government is built is not for it to be built on performance.
As monga icabanga kahle lento esho uvusi la ethi i-government yethu yenza yonke lento eyenzayo cause akekho umuntu okuzothiwa awuperformanga kahle ngaleso sizathu uzokuphelela umsebenzi, awuperformanga kahle ngaso sizathu awuzukuyithola ipromotion, awuperform. Abantu lapha abaqashwa based on merits, abaqashwa based on qualification, abaqashwa based on performance. Bafakwa lapha ey'khundleni ey'balulekile nasey'ndaweni efuna ithatha iy'nqumo ngey'mpilo zethu, kufakwa abantu laphaya ngoba baphatha ikhadi le-political party ethize. Ngangiyisupporter le idea yayisho uMalema ukuthi funeka kube khona ibhank eli-ownwa i-state, i-mining company ownwa i-state ukuze kuzoba ne-competition, ama-state-owned entities abe khona. Kodwa uma usubheka manje kuzoqashwa bobani laphaya ngoba amabhenki aperforma kanje cause wonke umuntu okuposition laphaya ujudgwa based on performance. Kune-reward if aperforme kahle uyakwazi ukuthola i-promotion. Kuma-state owned enterprises akwenzeki lokho, yingakho efe noma ubonde akufanele. Futhi bayakwazi ukuthi ungaperform kahle la bakukhiphe la bayokufaka kwenye iportfolio, then bese lindela ukuthi lawo bantu labo funeka bakhande amathuba emisebenzi ukuze unemployment rate yehle eSouth Africa. Ngicabanga ukuthi inkinga enkulu efuna yenzeke, funa kushintsha isystem i-government enza ngayo izinto. Nokuqashwa kwabantu ake kuqashwa abantu based on qualification, based on ama-capabilities wabo, not ngoba imember i-ANC noma IFP noma UDM noma MK noma EFF noma yini, kodwa ake kuqashwa abantu ngoba be-qualified ukwenza lo msebenzi. Asicaphune ku-Ashley Souls bese siyivala ivideo.
Honorable Source. Thank you, Chair. DDG, can we agree that there's not been any decisive intervention on the concerns around the preference of foreign nationals over South African citizens in our institutions of higher learning? Would you agree?
Yes, there has not been any intervention. All we've done is studied the legislation.
What is the reason for not taking that issue seriously?
Chair, I wouldn't say we are not taking it seriously. We are very concerned. In fact, I was planning to have a workshop with universities and the Department of Labor, because this falls within the ambit of the Department of Labor legislation. The employment equities, what's Foreign Employment or Employment Services Act of 2014. So I felt that given the nature of responses we've received from a variety of universities, not just CUT, there's a need for a workshop so that there's an alignment on interpretation of that piece of legislation, because it is very clear either there is insufficient knowledge thereof or incorrect interpretation of what it means.
I think there's a mistake there in terms of the approach. We are sitting here with a situation where South African citizens are not getting employed and foreign nationals are being preferred over them. A workshop for all of you to get an understanding does not change that reality. My question is around intervention in decisively acting against this. It's there. It's a fact. And so what's disappointing for me is I listened to the presentations. The issue of foreign nationals has been mentioned twice. Once on the Gauteng side of things, just to say that there is foreign national lecturers, but they were there before, and going forward, South Africans will be prioritized. What that says is it's an admission that South Africans was not prioritized. Then in the second occasion, no, not yourself, the presentation was made by your colleague DDG there. Then in the other presentation, at Moteo, there was the issue on foreign national was skipped because of time, but all the others was mentioned. But what was interesting is that there is no mitigation or turnaround strategy when it came to that issue on the presentation of Moteo. Do you see the unintentionalism in terms of your posture and your approach as the department on this very important issue?
So I cannot speak for, I think the DG indicated that the different components of the PSET system are governed by different pieces of legislation.
Who must I ask?
Please allow me, Chair, let me just say
It's just
this.
because of my time, because
Yes.
you're referring to the presentation that time.
There are
So who
different
must I ask here? Who must I ask here? If it's not you, who must I ask?
I was just going to give you this response, that there are different pieces of legislation in governing the different components of the PSET sector. What is common is the legislation that falls under Department of Labor. On our side, when I turned to the legislation immediately after that meeting with the CUT, I confirmed, because you got 3 different responses in that meeting, Chair. I turned to legislation, and it is very, very clear that the Higher Education Act gives complete right of employment to the council and the vice chancellor of a university. So we don't have powers. That's the first thing.
You see,
Second thing,
you
is
know what
that
you're doing?
The second thing is that the multiple interpretations suggest.
May
to
rather
me-
do that. Are you saying
Yes.
because of the interpretations, what they are doing is right?
No, what they need, rather than, because the legislation is so clear about their powers, is to consult them and persuade them to do differently.
No,
Because
they're doing something illegal. And you know why they continue to do it? Because you have that posture. That is illegal, what they are doing. There is no law in our country that encourages when a South African citizen is qualified that you give preference to a foreign national. There's no law that justifies that. Do you agree?
absolutely, Chair.
So your posture should not be to consult. Your posture should be to direct them to say you are doing something illegal.
Certainly, I don't deny that, but
Exactly.
we wanted to do even more.
No. Start there. You can do more. There can be nothing more than giving South Africans jobs that they deserve. When I looked at the presentation, if you look at Moteo, let me give you an example of what your posture to this issue is creating. Are you aware of the allegation that Moteo, the principal, has taken Sunday World to court and on the 12th of June paid the attorney 300,000 rand whilst they don't have money to pay employees? She paid legal fees of 300,000 rand, it's alleged. But here's what makes it worse. Do you know that the attorney employed by the college is the sister of the acting CEO, who's a foreign national? The lawyer is a foreign national.
Honorable Member, if you allow me, it's Motel is a Tibet College under DDG Zungu.
Honorable Souls, I'm not aware of those allegations. I think I'm hearing those for the first time. Obviously, we'll have to investigate them in relation to what we have raised.
Please, I put it to you that that is what we have received. What does,
President.
DDG, what does your policy framework on internationalization say in section 3, subsection 3.6, subsection 3.63? What does it say? I'm asking you that because the usual defense is internationalization. Kindly share that with me.
Unfortunately, I don't have it here with me, Chair.
Let me read it for you.
Thank you.
It says, initiatives to attract and retain international talent in South African job market, including positions in higher institutions, must not be to the detriment of job opportunities for equally qualified and experienced South African citizens. That's clear. It's not ambiguous. It's your framework. The institutions are not aligned to that framework. What must you do?
Chair, we approved the internationalization policy framework. We published it in the Gazette. We secured all consultations.
No.
Okay.
You're telling me what you did with the policy I just read to you. It's your policy. I'm asking you, based on that, this empowers you to act. This is the framework. And we have shown you that institutions are not in the ambit of this framework.
I agree, but the challenge is the same policy, because I went and looked at it, does not give me an instrument on which to penalize or contravene a policy. My preferred way, given the complete misalignment of multiple institutions with the anti-nationalization policy or
I have to stop you.
Legislation.
I have to stop you. Do you know what you're saying? You're saying they're wrong. But there's no document that tells me what must I do when they're wrong. The document shows me a framework when they are wrong, but what to do with them when they're wrong, there's no document. I don't know what to do. When the law is silent, and you, by virtue of the fact that you can show that there's grounds, that they are outside of the framework, the law supports you to use your discretion to deal with what is clearly wrong. Let them be the ones that says you did something illegal. But you sitting there waiting for something to tell you, while South African citizens are suffering, like Professor Mpekwa. CUT has given preference to a foreign national over a qualified South African. And it's your posture that is in this way that is causing her still to be marginalized. The same foreign national that is now the dean at CUT, the same foreign national has employed an HOD in her faculty. That's a foreign national over and above a South African that has 10 more years of experience than that gentleman. And you know why? It's your posture, your nonchalant attitude. While South African academics are suffering. Let me show you another example of what your posture, DDG, and the department, what your posture, your nonchalant attitude is doing to these people that are doing this wrong thing to South Africans, how they talk to them. I'm going to read you emails of CUTUS liquidators. They have went to voluntary liquidation, voluntary. The same people that agreed to the liquidation of the subsidiary was the management of the subsidiary and the management of the principal institution. That's a conflict of interest. So they close this one thing, people lose their jobs. 2 out of those employees is asking the liquidators for the UIF letters. This is how the liquidators respond. It's in Afrikaans. The gentleman's name is Martin Botha. Chair, there's some age restriction words here. I'm going to say it so that it's quoted. Martin Botha says to these 2 employees asking for their UIF documents to be corrected so that they can get money now that they have lost their jobs. This is what they are told. Die tweekies is en was deel van die CCMA klomp. Hulle kan gaan kak en klagtes gaan lê waar hulle wil. You know what that says? Interpretation? They can go shit. And they can go take their concerns wherever they want to. That's how South Africans are being spoken to. Almost done, Chair. Listen to what they continue to say, the same gentleman. When calling mommy to the rescue did not work. Like you, I have time on my hands at the moment, not because I'm unemployed or being on a mission, but because I manage my time effectively. You were an employee of a company that was liquidated by its shareholders. If I recall, you are one of the lower ranking of employees and did not even make meaningful impact on the success of the business, but more likely contributed to the failure of the business. Listen to the arrogance. Lastly, and I conclude, please go ahead and do whatever will make you feel happy, and please include the office of the president, the deputy, as well as every minister in cabinet. Looking at your mailing list, people that has nothing to do with this liquidation, seems you include them only for one reason, and that is to try and score some points. Well, I don't think you will be employed by the CUT. Ever. But that is their prerogative. Maybe you are an attention seeker, I don't know. At the end, you are unemployed and most likely will remain so because you have done You have time to write emails instead of sending out your brilliant CV. Do you think you will get a good reference from CUT with your behavior? Lastly, I will still help you get the forms for the UIF amended, but stop being such a bloody nuisance. Marty, hey, is that what you called your landlord before you got evicted? She didn't have an income for 3 months. As a result, she got evicted. The liquidator is making fun of her eviction, and she has no job. A South African, DDG, your department and your posture is responsible for the struggle of South African academics. It's disappointing and it's disgusting. Thank you, Chair.
Maybe if you can just, for the record, give us the name of that liquidator.
I'm going to have to check, but the person, the liquidation company's name, I have to check the name, but the person representing the liquidating company and who's written this emails is Martin Botha. And I shall submit the name of the liquidators. But this is Martin Botha.
Thank you very much. DDG, I did not want to interrupt there, but so we've got laws in this country. The law says if institutions under your department, like CUT, hires a non-South African, there's a process that they must follow. Must show that no one in the country had that skill and all of that. And you are saying the act does not empower you to do anything. It's a problem because even the Higher Education Act does not supersede the constitution of this country. And the laws that are made, I mean, the Foreign Nationals Act that you are telling us there, that you looked at, Employment Services Act, amongst many others, tells you that if this institution does this thing under your department, there's something you must do. It's illegal. It says it's illegal to hire Tebogo, who's not South African, over souls who's South African, if both of them qualify for that position. It says it's illegal. And you are saying to us, there's nothing the department can do. It's a big problem. It then tells us why these institutions can do as they please. Because you create a framework, and this framework says this. An institution goes and does something outside of the framework and quotes the same framework, and then you agree. It's a big problem, teaching. In fact, I'm going through something around that I'm reading. And I was hoping that by this time we'll do a joint committee meeting between ourselves, Department of Home Affairs that is responsible for creation of these scarce skills jobs, and Department of Labor that has a responsibility to arrest people, to open cases against these employers who are employing non-South Africans illegal. And the Department of Higher Education can say, TG, there's nothing we can do. When Department of Labor is right here next door, we have asked them, what do I do when a university of mine that the framework says they can employ up to 10% of the staff. They've employed 14%. What is it that I can do? And they'll tell you, go and open a case there. Very simple. Because you are responsible. So if you are saying, no, nice DDG, there's nothing I can do, you are giving us a worry. But more than a worry, it's the confidence that you are giving to this institution that worries us even more. Honorable
Yo, Chairman, thanks very much. I've read the report and I want to go back to the college where I would have posed a question about the spouse who was appointed and alleged that she was appointed unprocedural. And I remember vividly, Chair, when we posed a question to the department, they did not know as to what was the process, both the regional manager and the DDG by then. I'm raising all of this because that even looking at the type of reports that we received from responses and on how the department has dealt with issues, it says we should be concerned. We should be concerned in such a way that the department has not covered all the aspects in such a way that they could have responded. So that when they come here, they give us a progress report. And then as they come here, they have, in their way, in their modus operandi, they have extended their scope of work as to how they're going to close vacancies. One, we're still at the point where vacancies are not closed. There's a college that had close to 49 vacancies. I made a note here, and I only saw that they managed to close 13 out of 49. Now, the issue of vacancies, I'm raising it as a matter of concern. Yeah, indeed, everything is wrong here. Everything is wrong. We don't blame the gadget. So, the matter of vacancies, we did say at the oversight, it hinders what progress of teaching and learning. The elements and attitude where colleges are receiving money and they are misdirecting money for construction and not for teaching and learning and responding to the needs of the students, and also making sure that there's adequate training and support for workers, is as a result of the collapse of our institutions, Chair. Let me make a typical example. I want to ask the department one question. When we left, there was a concern on the matric results that seeks to impact the commencement of the academic program at universities and TVET colleges. I want to check what engagement so far, how far are you, or how have you engaged the basic education department, or what is the progress at hand to mitigate this situation that is seriously dealing with, that is impacting very bad on the academic program, that is not well aligned. How far are you with engagement with the Department of Basic Education? As you promised to say, you will have a meeting, there's the progress.
Chair, may I? We met with the Department of Basic Education. The staff are adamant that they cannot change that date. They have various reasons. But what we have found ultimately is that the Department of Basic Education could not agree with Labour on the changing of those dates. And it seems like that stalemate is what has brought us where we are. USAF engaged with DBE, wrote letters to DBE, we engaged with USAF, we did the triangle cross-verification, and the common point is that Labour and Department of Basic Education cannot agree on a date. So that is the response on that particular one.
What is your engagement with basic education as higher education with regard to the issue? How far are you? What is your discussion? I hear about Labour. I'm speaking about the both two
sectors. The other one is dealing with basic, the other one is dealing with higher foundation and intermediate. Now, I'm asking based on the relations. Remember, we spoke about stakeholder relations, not only on the metric, but what has been your engagement?
We have various projects that we do together. For example, we do teaching and learning, and we train teachers. We have those projects throughout the branch in the teaching and learning particularly. Then the DG, DBE and DG Higher Education have set up a steering committee. I think we've met thrice during that steering committee.
DDG, can I assist you?
Yes.
Maybe I'm a bit fast.
Yeah, thanks.
The relationship with the Portfolio Committee of Higher Education and Basic Education, at a particular moment, they are at a discussion of making sure that there's integration in terms of key issues that are affecting learners and the migration of learners from different high schools to colleges, to making sure that as we sit at basic and higher, we look at the current scenario of our students, what is confronting them, and how do we therefore integrate and assist those from DBE. Now, so far so good. We've got an outstanding meeting that we must convene with labor and higher and basic to come and make one program. That's how far we are. And so after so far, we've agreed that we're going to integrate our programs. That's my response to you on our relationship. My question was, so far, ever since we left you, what has been your relationship? What have you done so far with regard to the critical matter of the leave labor? On your issue, what is the answer? How far are you? What are you saying? What are you advising with? Remember, you are dealing in intergovernmental relations. You are not working in silos. No matter your different mandates, as per the Millennium Goals or as per the NDP, what is expected from us. But what becomes quite significant, what we have said to you, let's remind you, maybe to assist you. We have said, go and sit down with DBE and see to it that you interrelate your programs, you amalgamate your programs, and then you give effect in terms of what therefore will be the best way to agree on the date, because it impacts you as the department and colleges and universities. You should be significantly at the center of making sure that you pursue the discussions and you explain the significance and the importance of that. So I take it there's no progress in terms of that, and then we'll get a written report what we get to that, given the time that we've been here for the whole day, and this question has been coming for a third time from the department. So I'll prefer that I get a written report, because I'm serving in a basic education committee. If I must tell what we got there, it will be very difficult. Can I get a report and then we'll take it from there? Thank you. And then again, we would have visited Monteo College. And then we are quite content, or other colleges, they've got agricultural farms, they've got clothing factories, they've got beauty and hair departments, and so forth. However, Section 9, subsection 6 of the Continuing Education and Training Act, it stops colleges to do business or establish businesses in terms of any other legislation or common law. Now, it is reported that the department provided a legal opinion which advised the college that they could establish a business unit which should be under the college management. I wanted to check, has the department shared the legal advice for the colleges for them to establish a business unit on Moteo? Okay, DDG Zungu?
I requested Mr. Msipa to respond on that.
All right. Ndade, Varigao.
Yes, there is a legal opinion to that effect, and we've shared it in the college.
No, thanks. We'll share it with me. Thank you, Ndade. And then another slide. I'm on to a college. I'm trying to run after the time, Chair. There's another slide on labor relations investigations. I would have went outside. There's an investigation on the Ernst & Young investigative report. And there were key findings on the report where the first finding was to say reconciliation not done for 2017 to 22 till now, no record keeping, and unavailability of minutes and meetings not taking place in line with the NSFAS guidelines. What is the view of the department on the disputed Ernst & Young investigation report, because I've got a view that the investigation was instituted by the department. The Ernst & Young, there's a dispute on the reporting that was done by the department. What is your view as a department emanating from that?
I think it was just Tshwane North.
Tshwane. It is Tshwane North, TVET College. The slide is administration and management on that slide.
I can't still sleep on that one. I'm trying to recall the. But I recall that slide that spoke to the issue of Ernst & Young. I think there is a justification for the question because it sounded quite weird that our own initiated investigation is disputed by, in the way it's presented, it doesn't sound like we are on the side of the report ourselves. I think that is how I received it when it was presented. The actual response in this regard, Chair, would be for us to just follow that matter through and provide a proper response to it. But I agree that there was a discrepancy in the manner in which it is presented in the slide.
No, thanks. 3 questions outstanding. I've not yet marked you.
Let me pause your time. That DG, we must state that we're not happy with this answer. Let me tell you what happened there. And because you don't remember. So the ministerial task team asks you to investigate allegations made by students that are funded by NSFAS on maladministration and corruption by the college. It's a very serious allegation. This Ernst & Young is appointed. They submit a report in September 2023 to yourselves. 9 September 2023. Touch seats for 4 people are done, including the principal. You remember, it was raised even when we were there, including the principal. And as we speak, there's no progress. Principal. TG. And yourself as the employer there, department, we can't say, no, we'll look at it, we don't remember. The purpose of this meeting is to deal with the issues that were raised in oversight. And this matter was sharply raised in that meeting. And we're coming here, we're not responding, we're not giving us feedback on this thing. There were many issues that were raised there against the leadership of the institution. No record keeping of funds, reconciliations not done, no minutes,
lack of policies for payment of allowance.
Policies, meeting taking place outside the guidelines. There were many allegations. So the response that we are giving is not inspiring confidence. But now we'll see. I mean, it's a serious allegation that was sharply raised when we were there in Shannon. So please, colleagues, next time let's try, and when we ask you to go and do this, let's do it. We'll get it in writing, Honorable Law.
Yes, I was saying, Chair, 3 of my questions were not answered. It takes me back to the SMART principles that I could have referred to earlier on how the department wants to approach the issues of South Africa. So I'm raising all of this because at this particular moment, there is no progress we've made ever since from the oversight. And this seeks to qualify. It's what people normally say is we are there for parading and pictures. And then there's no action that is taken to see to it as consequence management. Now we're going to have a difficult 5 years where the department will always say we don't have jurisdiction. And the constitution of the country, like we have said, Chair, I think it's section 146, there's a section there, and then I'll just remind myself, it gives departments full powers that says that where you give money to an entity or to an institution, you've got a duty to play an oversight role where you must put corrective measures and you must take proper channels of making sure people account for the money. Now, again, the lack of knowledge of me understanding the law, the juristic person who deals with education and students is a department, no matter what becomes the way, even when you go to court, you will be accountable for the student because they get registered under yourself. And then you are the ones who could have had subdivision in terms of your entities. Now, there are two processes that we need to agree upon here out of this analysis of the oversight report, Chair. It is that we would have said, I remember, to the department that go and look on the Higher Education Act, because we would have spoken about the autonomy of universities and colleges, so that you see to it that you recommend and amend the act that is going to respond to say that we have jurisdiction on top of the institutions. So it would not be, it does not make logically sense that we must give money and then at the ultimate end we can't put consequence management and people can account for the money. And at the ultimate end, for those who are the actors, who are the participating people who at that particular sector of education, it's students and workers who are depressed, others who are excluded in these institutions. The labor issues that were raised at the chair, as I wrap up, at the oversight, most of the labor unions leaders are being charged and patched and victimized because they could have raised important, significant issues ever since we left the colleges. We've got a number of their letters. They have been patched, others have been threatened, others have been dealt with because they spoke out outrightly. It hinders what the relationship with stakeholders. Now, I'm raising all of this because before you go to a classroom, the problem starts with the management, whom we expect to be more capacitated and understand much more as to how to lead and guide the department. So I wish to recommend that, Chair, we really need to engage the department on all of their discrepancies and see to it that we align issues accordingly. Because it's embarrassing that we come here 9 o'clock, we are going to leave around 6, 7, would still come back in another Wednesday, still have the similar issues to be raised. I can assure you. Textbooks, no allowance, failure to pay, safety of students, corruption, failure to take consequent steps to deal with internal issues and controls. Yeah, we know them by heart. But how will they be dealt with is upon the department. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. We've been here for the whole day. Only a few things. You are calling me to order.
Not to order, Chair, just to state for the record the question that you had for me earlier.
Oh, yes.
So the first correspondence came from Honey Attorneys, represented by Voter DeVos and Donovan Majid. And then the application was made by DLBM Attorneys to the High Court, represented by Philip Lessing. And together with them, there's also Martin Botha, who represents FMBP. And then also Christopher Roos, Sebenza Trust. And then the advocate representing was Advocate Maslang. That's the information for the record, Chair.
Well, thank you very much. I must say there are the tone of their attitude, the tone of their letter and the attitude is not right. That's why I wanted you to read it for the record, so that even people who wants to give them business, they must know what kind of people they're dealing with. People who believe just because they've been given business, they have the right to speak to people who are only looking to get their UIF details. And they give them that kind of attitude. So that's why I wanted you to place it on the record.
Yona video le bengithi angikulethele yona uze ukuthi yini eyenzekayo ema-university. Njengoba ngithe mangiqala ibhlungu lento ukuthi abantu baphume bayofunda. Qeda lapha ama-institutions ofuneka baqashe. Aqasha ama-foreign nationals. Asali kodwa mangabe it's a scarce skill. But manje if ama-institutions of higher education akuyiwona afuneka aqasha abantwana laba abafundile aprefera abantu abangama-foreigners, angazi mina kwenze njani. Kodwa sengibonile lo government uyabazonda abantu base-South Africa, akazenzisi. Izenzo zakhe sezikuveze ngokusobala. Ngingaba wrong, I may be wrong, ngiyavuma. Ngiyacela ukuze ukuphawula kwakho. Kodwa ngale kokudla isikhathi mina nawe sidibane kwivideo elandelayo. Ngiyabonga.